A lot of people say they know Detroit, but they don't know Detroit. Detroit has many faces, many stories, a lot of compassionate people. Detroit and a lot of the African Americans, such as myself in Detroit, has experienced a lot of pain, man. Uh, 67, I was a freshman going into University of Detroit on a basketball scholarship. I'll never forget this. Bigotry, racism, we knew exist in a de facto way, but this experience brought that monster right out to light. A lot of people say, well, why is all the killing? Why is all this? Why is all that in Detroit? Well, most of the people that think they know Detroit hasn't experienced a lot of the segregation, a lot of the institutionalized racism. Mm. Here, me and a group of young kids, I was about 18, 19, we were over in Hazel Park. I never forget the day of the riot. And we were playing basketball. Lee Palmer, he's dead and gone now, one of the best basketball players. Group of us, we were playing. And all of a sudden, these police, Hazel Park white police came, and they said, what y'all doing over here? And then our white friends, you know, they were saying, well, we playing ball. What have they done? Say, well, you better get on back home because it's a riot down in Detroit. A couple of my friends that were white, they took me and Lee, we were from 8 Mile community. They took us to the township. We could see down at that time Livernois, and the riot hadn't spread. But they dropped us off in the township, and they went on back, Ferndale and wherever, you know, they were from. So I got home, and my grandfather, who was a father figure, he said they're rioting down in Detroit. And I didn't know what was going on. The next day, it had exploded. It wasn't a riot. And I want to clarify that. And people that really have lived through 67 in Detroit, it was not a riot. It was a rebellion. The second day, me being young, going to UAD in September, I took the opportunity, a group of us kids, we went down Livernois. Livernois was a gorgeous avenue then. They called it the Avenue of Fashion. They had stores and stuff. We went to Good Housekeeper, and everybody was like it was like a free fall. I got me a stereo and this and that, and everybody else. But it wasn't just blacks. It was whites too. So that's why I say it was not a race riot. The race riot Detroit had was in the 40s. This was not a race riot. You had whites there that were looting too. But now, what happened after the second, about third day, I may be a little bit off, but it got worse. And then the burning down on 12th Street, Claremont, Linwood, and it spread like cancer. And this is what hurt me, because after about 3 or 4 days, every policeman, the state police, the local police, the National Guard, everybody was down on Detroit. And I said, damn, you got every policeman there. It's like them against us. It was war, not on just Detroit. It was war on us blacks. They circled, they had curfew. It kept spreading, the burning, the looting. And then what happened? They finally brought in the National Guards. I'll never forget that. When they brought the National Guard, some of them boys were coming from Vietnam. They were black, young kids. They said, we ain't gonna mess with you. And they wouldn't. And they drive through the streets. But what hurt us each night, and we didn't experience it in the township in 8 Mile, thank God, but down in the core inner city, 12th Street, Linwood, is spread over Pennsylvania on the east side. Every core city and inner city, they were literally killing people. You light a cigarette, and it was like friendly fire, and they were putting it on us as blacks, and it wasn't. They had Belle Isle was like a concentration camp, and it got ugly. And then The whites that were hippies, they were hippies. They'd come have their fun. We used to call them hippies, smoking their herbs, smoking their hash. They were beating them kids too. So see, it was more to it. But for us as black people, it was like war on Detroit. You had the white policemen, you had the state policemen that were bigots, and it's still that way. That's why when Coleman Young became mayor, we rejoiced with what he did for Detroit. That was the 67 revolution. That set a pattern, and I think it was orchestrated. Because see what happened, Dexter, 12th Street, all over on the west side, those used to be Jewish communities. See, we have to look at this thing as an economical thing. We as black folk, see, this I think was propagated. Because see, what it did, it triggered a lot of bitterness, and people say, why blacks are, why they're so raged? Why in the hell you think we are angry? When you have experienced what we have experienced. Detroit had the most, it was the mecca of the black community in the United States. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'm not a Muslim, started down there on Linwood. You had a lot of core civil rights things. You had Motown and things even before that. It was a mecca. Detroit was a place where you could come work in the factories. It started the first middle class. You could buy a home. It was a lot booming, a lot going on. But see, something that we have missed, and I don't think those of us that are older and even older than me have missed. It was a planned genocide, it was a planned exodus out of the city of Detroit. That just didn't happen by chance, Derek. That's why we try to tell you young kids now, you need to know the history. See, because what happened, Detroit, Metro Detroit, a lot of people around the country, you laugh at us, but you don't know. We've always been pioneers. We're going to endure, and we have endured this. We've endured it. And we're going to stand because you have some people, a core network, black people and whites, that we are overcomers. We endure. And what has happened, see, this economical, a few greedy, rich people, economical. See, that's what the thing is. Money talks, bullshit walks. Never forget that. And a lot of stuff that is propagated is for money. A lot of people don't know. You go to these malls, I see the young people and stuff there, and you look at the TV, I don't watch it too much no more because it's bull crap. Yeah. Malls this, malls that. Where do you think the first mall started? Here in Detroit. Oh, you didn't know that, did you? Northland. So, Tubman, and I don't want to use names, but he's dead and gone, bless his heart, big Jewish entrepreneur. They built Northland. I remember when they were building it when I was a little kid, and then it came to fruition. If you built this Northland shopping center, it was a core for malls all over the country. So in order to build Northland, we got to have a Target magnet store. They put Hudson's there. What was the biggest department store in downtown Detroit? Hudson's. Hudson's like Macy's in New York. So the plan was, if we're going to build this mall, and then they had Northland, they got Eastland, they got Westland, we got to get the people outside of the core city. The riot was a good way to instill fear into people. You had the white people, the Jewish people, the Polish people, the Hispanic people. Detroit had it was a diversified community. So here on 12th Street, where they started, and I won't go into any more details on that right now, but it was more to it than that. Here, you had a lot of Jewish drugstores and stuff, and it used to be a Jewish community. Central High School, all that used to be Jewish. But see, here, when they started that riot, or that what they call riot, that rebellion, they said that we burnt the city down. That put fear in the whites. The whites were afraid, well, they burned our neighborhoods down, they burned that. You see, and then it spread and it caused a lot of fear and bitterness. So you had the whites, the blacks burned our city down. Then you had us, we were angry with the police brutality, the stress, and all this, and everybody's fighting everybody. And then when the whites exodus, they left and went across 8 Mile as far as with the suburbs. See, and then you have these suburbs. Detroit has over 2 million, Metro Detroit. It's not a core city, but before that, no other city lost 1 million people. We lost 1 million people. Detroit had about 1.5, almost 2 million people. After that so-called rebellion, everybody fled. And that's how the suburbs came. Then they had the malls, you see, and then Hudson's. They took the heart of the city. And then when you lose 1 million people, think you don't have a tax base. So here, 1 million people you lost, you don't have a tax base. Then they got Coleman Young, who did a hell of a job for what he had to work with without a tax base. He was able to hold the city together, and it was predominantly blacks because the whites had fled out of fear. And that fulfilled their, that purpose of the suburbs, the malls, Eastland, Northland, that. And now you people need to look. Detroit has never been dead. What's happened now? They're right back. So it's like order out of disorder and fear. If I can keep you ignorant, that's why we need to teach our young people the history. Teach them the history. And teach our young people like you, Derek. You can be an entrepreneur. You got good talent. Y'all young people got a lot of skills, but you need to know the history. You're not a heathen. See, they want us to act like a heathen. And we're not murderers. We're not killers. We got talents, but we have to learn how to use our skills and get back to where we used to be, the way Detroit used to be. It'll never be the same Detroit, Motown, but we got a lot more different advantages, a lot more talent. If we all unite, get the family back like you're doing. You know me and you, Derek. I've hurt you, and I want all fathers. I'm 68. We hurt these kids. 60s, they flooded our community with heroin, dope. That fragmented the family. See, it was genocide. The family's fragmented. My poor wife, she couldn't raise you, Derek and Darren, my 2 sons. She did the best she could while I was nodding or in the treatment center. So if the father figure's gone in, Derek, you were left wide open and y'all were abused. And this happened to Detroit. We were raped in, raped out. But thank God that we're going through a reconciliation. And that revival is not downtown at the Renaissance. That's not going to get it. Not downtown with that, even though we deserve part of that and we can get part of that. But the revival starts with me and you, Derek. See, here I am, 68, you're a father, and now we can talk. And now we can reflect, and I can support you, not physically all the time, spiritually. Yeah. And we support each other. And your son, DJ, Darius. See, that's what our revival, and then me reaching out to these kids here in Detroit. I've done it almost 20 years undercover. I don't want fame. I don't want that. But I feel when I'm talking with a young kid, 18, 19, when I'm downtown walking the riverfront, because I've been going. And I walk the neighborhoods, and this just ain't starting. I was telling people, y'all need to come downtown. This is our downtown. See, and I talk to these kids, and I tell them, I love you, and please forgive me. They say, what do you mean, Mr. Dunlap? Because I'm like your father. I'm your father's age or your grandfather. We raped y'all. I was nodding on heroin and stuff when your mother did the best she can. See, this is the Detroit we know. Neighborhoods, the older ones reaching out to the young ones, the men, where we can be men. And this is what that riot, as they call it, wasn't a riot. It was a plan, and it was more of a revolution. And the older people that have been here in Detroit, they know. See, you got good people in Detroit. And you people, if you listen to this across country, we're not heathens. We got a lot of pride, and we're still holding on in Detroit. And we're going to make it because we're a pattern for the whole country. In fact, for the world. So you see what we're going through, you better pay attention because you're going to get it. But can you come out of it like God has brought us out of it?